Okay, no more monkey work, bubble chop. And we want to say welcome once more to the program. Good morning from TU. We're going to go right into business now because our guest is on the line from Monrovia. He's Executive Director, Dale Francis Wreh for Liberia Microeconomic Policy at the Ministry of Finance. Sir, welcome to Phoenix FM and good morning from TU.
Good morning. I'm Dale Francis Wreh, Executive Director of the Liberia Microeconomic Policy Center within the Ministry of Finance and Development, and one of the advisors to the Minister, and also the focal person for the government harmonization policy.
Okay, I'm here with two other colleagues, and in subsequent time they're going to be also having their input. But let's begin with your department. What exactly do you do? What are you responsible for at that department?
So, LENPAC is a think tank within the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. We also serve as one of the advisors to the Ministry of Finance, to the government of Liberia, and also to the Minister of Finance on several policy issues ranging from macroeconomic policy, health policy, and most recently wage reform policy of the government.
Let's move on. The Ministry of Finance took some salary actions recently resulting from a strike by faculty of the Tubman University. You mind telling us which actions were taken and why?
Well, before I go into the action taken by the faculty of the Tubman University, let me give some premise on the entire government payroll reform process so that we get an understanding into it before getting into the strike or the go-slow action by the faculty and the subsequent resolution of that matter by the Ministry of Finance, the TU Faculty Association, the administration of TU, and also the Civil Service Agency of the Republic of Liberia. So in 2019, the government of Liberia embarked on a massive pay reform strategy. The essence of the pay reform strategy was to create equity in pay and was to also reform the payroll such that the payroll is predictable, the payroll is automated, and people are taking pay in time or on time to take care of their different needs. So equity in payroll means everyone that has equal qualification and does the same amount of work should take home the same pay. Before the reform, the payroll of government agencies, I'm talking about more than 103 government agencies, were totally disorganized. There was minimal evidence of equity in it. You have instances of people having the same qualification, making different amount of money. For instance, an accountant in one ministry would make $1,500 United States dollars per month, and another accountant in another government ministry would make $300. A director in one agency or government would probably make $2,000. And another director in another government agency apparently doing the same work with the same qualification would make very low amount of money. And I also cut across health, nurses, midwives, doctors, also teachers, and other professionals that work in the government to provide services to the people of Liberia, to the people across the length and breadth of the Republic. So that process wasn't sustainable, and it undermined the competitiveness of the public sector in terms of the workforce. So there was need for the government to reform. In addition to the equity issue that the payroll had, there were also issues about the payroll growing or increasing at a rate more than the increases in the revenue of the government. So in addition to maintaining standards for equity, the government also needed to put into measure that curtail the increasing growth in the payroll, which took away a lot of resources from other aspects of the budget, which include media goods and services, logistics for hospitals, for schools, and so. So that reform set the basis for the entire process of recalibrating salaries across the government, setting standards, setting pay grades for every employee of government. And that included, the Great Tottenham University. So Tottenham University, as part of the exercise, were invited to Monrovia to bring in their personnel list and bring in their payroll. And then we carry out the exercise for the first time. Yes, it took away some money from TU, to the extent that it took away some money from other universities and community colleges and agencies of government. So this payroll exercise, has been the talk of the Republic. But we have passed that stage, given the fact that the payroll now is stable. There's much stability in the payroll. Our employees are taking pay, on time. There's no arrears from the government because the government took this giant step to reform the pay process such that people who have similar qualifications are equally paid, creating motivation in the public sector. So fast forward, after we did the pay harmonization for TU, 2 years into it, we received information from Wreh County, from Tottenham University specifically, that there were issues between the faculty and the administration about pay, not just pay, but other related faculty incentives, including housing, overload, and a different other aspect of the problem that was brought to Monrovia by the leadership of TUFA and the administration of TU. We were actually supposed to go to Tottenham University, myself and the Director General of the CSA, on the instruction of the Ministry of State, that we go to TU to resolve the problem. But we realized that TU coming to us, we have accelerated the decision making of resolving the problem because all of the major decision makers were in Monrovia. And meeting them face to face was resolved, the problem. So we commissioned for 2 weeks, event activities that included the leadership of TUFA, and then also included the president, the acting president of the university, TU, Dr. Wreh, the HR, the finance person, Hamo, and also from the government side, we also had the CSA represented, the civil service agency, and then we also have my team from the Ministry of Finance, part of that, and then we also have the team from the Department of Budget, all represented. So we set up that committee, and then we look at the payroll of TU. Our main focus was to really look at the incentives of the faculty. Let me emphasize, the focus was to look at the incentive of the faculty. So we extracted the faculty payroll from the payroll of TU and look at all of the faculty. In our exercise, which was jointly, done by TUFA, the university administration, and us, we look at the various qualifications of all the faculties. So beyond qualification, we also look at experience. So the methodology we put in place was to say that it has a PhD, the way that two persons with PhD are distinguished on the payroll is by tenure. So I can have PhD, you can have PhD, but most likely my pay scale will be higher than you if my PhD is more than 5 years at the TU or Tottenham University. If my PhD is less than 5 years, then I make a lower amount, not too large, than you. So that same procedure, that same strategy or methodology was used for other degrees, master's and then bachelor degrees. So when we did all of that, we realized that we needed to increase the pay of the faculty, consistent with the same approach we took with the University of Liberia. So what we were doing with TU is something that we have already done with the University of Liberia. So we were kind of replicating what we did with the University of Liberia with TU, except for the University of Liberia that have more coverage, that have more employees, that have more programs than TU. but the methodology, the approach was exactly, the same. So when we did that, we came out with a skill, and the skill needed us to increase the pay of the faculty. But at that time, we could not increase the pay of the faculty to 100% of what was needed. So our discussion with the faculty leadership at the time was we would prevail on the authorities, meaning the Ministry of Finance, the government, to do portion of the increment, which we regard to as the 60%. So the 60% means it was going to increase our faculty member pay by additional $400. What I mean is we take 60% of 400 and add to the existing pay, and then the final 40% of the 400 we do it within the subsequent year to come. So that's how we were able to resolve the problem at TU with respect to standardizing the pay and increasing the pay of the faculty member in their different and respective categories. So that part was done, and that part, into my best understanding, has been fully implemented to the extent of the 60% increment, and that started since August 2022. The exercise was completed Friday in May, and then we needed to find resources because at the time we completed the exercise, we were already into the 2022 budget year, and there was no resources immediately to implement the exercise. But the minister being very magnanimous and very concerned about TU, decided that we source the money to increase the pay and solve the issue of TU. So in addition to the pay standardization that was done, or the pay increment that was done, there were other issues that the faculty raised, and the faculty raised the issue about in housing, the issue about whether it was overload, and I can I remember vividly that before the TU administration and faculty left Monrovia during the 2-week exercise, we resolved all the other issues relating to housing and other incentives that the faculty was supposed to receive. So that was based on the joint leadership working of the TU administration, the TU faculty, and aided by the central government of Liberia through the Ministry of Finance and Development Plan and the Civil Service Agency, at the time. We also explained to the faculty that TU in the past, because it raised other issues, issue about Social Security. So we were clear that whatever payroll that TU was paid in was the payroll that came from it. And from our investigation of the payroll that TU submitted and the records that we saw, that we asked the administration to submit, we found that what the Ministry of Finance was giving TU was exactly what TU was paying the faculty, and they were being paid to the faculty accounts, as it is the policy of the government to directly pay into the accounts of employees. So TU was setting new pay, different from what the Ministry of Finance was paying. So we went through all of those exercises and had very good exchange with the TU faculty, on other issues that were in the best interest of the faculty. And some of the issues that came up was the issue about incentive for hard-to-reach areas, like TU being in the deep part of the interior, where faculty members cannot moonlight, or meaning they cannot teach more than one university like others will do in Monrovia. It needed to be addressed through some kind of incentive, for them. So that issue was discussed, and we tabled the implementation for the new budget year. I think we have been discussing with TU. TU has submitted, a budget to look at the issue of move and to look at the issue of far-to-reach area, for faculty, to the extent that they will probably replace or provide incentive for people who are moonlight in Monrovia, and since they cannot do it in TU, and probably do some adjustment, aiding the adjustment to the cost of living in Wreh County. So there have been collaboration, there have been discussion. We actually wanted to come to TU to explain this story, but we couldn't come because of the enormous work that the government has to do. But we thought to use this medium to have the discussion with the TU family, with the people of Maryland, on all the issues regarding pay, regarding salaries, and the changes that went on recently on the campus of the university, for which the faculty members, desire explanation from the government, and in addition to the explanation that they got from their colleagues or their leadership. So it means that we are on a strong obligation to explain the story to the faculty, to the workers of TU. It is very, very important to share information, because in the absence of information, there will be chaos. So there we are with TU. I'm very, very open to all of the questions that will come from the faculty, and I'm appealing to everyone within TU that has worked with TU or that is working with TU to be very free to ask their questions, and we are very, very prepared to give you the answers, in a very respectful manner. So I will stop here and then, take questions. We start the interaction. Thank you very much.
Okay, so folks, if you just joined us, you're listening to this special feature on the Good Morning from TU. And on the line as our guests, we have Executive Director Del Francis Wreh at the Ministry of Finance. But before we open the phone lines, we got some questions here, and I think we're going to give those people the opportunity first to have their questions read. We're going to ask the first two questions from Mr. Thomas Nimle. He's in the maintenance department. He wants to know, why were the staff salaries not adjusted after the TUFA strike? That's the first one. And the second one is, what is the salary range for harmonization? That is, who should have been harmonized? Apparently, people who make way below 150 and 200 were also harmonized. So I think that's where his question is coming from.
Okay, so the first phase of the exercise was to address the issue of the faculty, like in the case of the University of Liberia. So that was amended. Let's do the adjustment in the teaching staff, and then we probably will look at the adjustment for the administrative staff. So a maintenance person is part of the administrative staff, so that's part of the next phase of action that the government is going to look at. In fact, the administration of TU has already submitted a proposal, about the adjustment or some kind of incentive for the administration, so there was some incentive for TU. So yes, that point is noted.
How soon can one hope to see the implementation of that?
So it has to go through the budget process. Every money the government spends has to be appropriated, has to be discussed. So the current budget process is the budget for 2023 is on. The preparation is on. It should be submitted. There will be negotiation. There will be submissions. Once that submission is done, TU making a point to the Ministry of Finance, to the legislature, on their priorities. I'm very, very sure there can be some action.
So what about the salary range for harmonization? Who should have...
Standardization, harmonization, to ask for salary range is asking for the entire ocean. You have to be specific. So we have more than 1,000 salary range or salaries. So if you say why the salary range, you want me to explain the whole process.
We ask because initially we heard that, just as you said earlier, it should have affected people who were maybe $1,000 and up, but
no. So give you historical perspective. When the government took office in 2018, there was the first salary reform program called the first protocol. So the one announced by the president that he was reducing his pay by 25%, and then he asked his cabinet ministers and directors that were making above 1,000 to exercise some cuts so that the government could save some money and fund some of the immediate programs of 2020 or 2018. So that cut or that first exercise did not affect people that were making below 1,000. That was a direct pay reduction for directors, assistant ministers, and people that were making 1,000 and above. The real reform, which is the harmonization, look at pay grade. So, take for instance, if your pay grade as a janitor is set at $225, meaning that's gross. And let me be very clear with how salaries, are determined, and what is the difference between your gross pay and your net pay in the bank. Because most times when people talk about their pay, they only look at the pay that they receive through the bank. The gross pay includes your taxes, and it also includes your social security. So yes, when we set the pay grade for a particular position based on the degree, based on the workload. If that person is earning, say for instance, we say the pay rate of a janitor is 250 out of 225, which is the least position within the civil service. And for any reason, it will find that janitor was making 350 dollars. What I mean is that janitor leaves 350 and come to 225 dollars. Because on average, 99% of the janitor was making 150. How come this one janitor is making $400? So that janitor was an all-hire. So in that case, that janitor leaves 350, that janitor comes to 225. If the janitor are actually making 175 or 150, that janitor pay is not reduced. But this is it.
Mr. Wreh, we're talking about people who made 150 and below, and yet still they've been experiencing cuts, severe cuts in their salaries. That's what we're talking about, not people who make above the range of a janitor.
No, I'm getting to why people are experiencing cuts, but I have to give you the basis, right? So the janitor before that was making 150 and take home 125, for instance. I'm giving you a scenario. Why is it that this janitor before was carrying home 125 after taxes, or this janitor today is carrying home 110 after taxes and social security? So this is the reason why it's happening. Before the reform, when the payroll system wasn't automated, the tax calculation, the social security calculation was done manually by the accountants, the controllers, and so. For some reason, the controllers would take only the 20% LD of the employee and apply social security on it. So if you take 20% of the person pay and apply social security, of course the person will take more money home. But if you apply the social security 4% on the person entire 150, the person will carry less money home. So because the payroll system wasn't automated and the calculation was not done automatically, it was done by human beings, there were some intentional mistakes with the calculation to the extent that taxes were not calculated properly and also social security were not calculated properly. So when the payroll system got consolidated and automated to the extent that taxes are calculated automatically, then it created variation in the net pay that people took home. So not necessarily that the person pay was cut, but the person is not paying the rightful social security as required by law, which is a saving for them for their retirement, and they also paying the rightful tax, the law, which is the responsibility of every citizen. So these are some of the reasons why people pay, gross pay is not cut, but you see that their net pay compared to before the reform is lower than they were. Compared to the reform, their gross pay was higher as compared to what they're receiving now. And all of those problems will be solved when the government, start to issue pay slips from the central government to employees.
Let's move over to another question here. Some faculty are actually complaining about cuts rather than increment. I'm talking about faculty, not staff. Have you heard about this in the first place? Because we've interacted with some faculty who complain that, in fact, their status were cut down and their salaries were also cut, despite the fact that you said earlier that increment was done to faculty.
Yeah, I mean, just you to look at it later, but to the best of my understanding, 99, almost 100% of the faculty pay will increase. For any reason, if that faculty pay is reduced, maybe that faculty was wrongly classified, and if TU present accurate information about that faculty, we can always look back and do the adjustment. So that shouldn't be a problem. We had a problem with other agencies where people employee pay were reduced because their position was misclassified. So if the person is a PhD holder or is a master degree holder, and then that person is wrongly classified as a bachelor degree, of course pay will reduce. When the evidence is very clear, we will restore the pay of the faculty to the level of their colleagues.
Right.
Consistent with the equity principle.
Okay, so let's look at emphasis on the faculty because you said first you were the emphasis is being laid on faculty. So did you do that because you were under pressure, immense pressure from the strike of TUFA because there was turmoil, so you were scared so much so that you had to act on Tufa's behalf as soon as possible. Is it that you were under pressure?
No. I think the government is a very responsible government. The government is a peaceful government led by a peace ambassador. So the president listening, the government listening. It's not, it's not fear. There was no fear.
There are staff as well who left Monrovia. They left their comfort zones to come work here at TU. So is this an indication that if those staff rally up and start a strike, then you're going to have urgency in seeing to their plight as well?
No, I didn't get your question.
There are staff as well, not just faculty, who left their comfort zones in Monrovia and even abroad to come work here at Tubman University in these harsh conditions in the southeast. Terrible roads which have been abandoned for years, increase maybe threefold in the prices of basic commodities. So is this an indication that these staff should maybe rally up as Tufa did and carry out a strike before the urgency could be placed on their welfare?
No. I'm not suggesting that. Let me say to you that it is the government's desire to increase the pay of everyone. But pay has to be increased in a sustainable way. All what the government is doing is appealing to the workers. When we did the pay harmonization, we realized that 80% of the employees of government, including people at PU, were earning below their pay. They are just paid. They are the pay grade that we said. If for example we say janitors should make 225, assuming the government has the resources for janitors, some janitors are making less than 225. The minimum wage is around 150, but some people are making below 150, not just in PU, but also in Monrovia and other places. So if we put all of that together and say that we need to do salary upgrade to the extent of people making their just pay grade, the government needs about $80 million addition to the payroll to do that exercise. The fact that the government doesn't have it, so the government approach is to appeal and to do smaller incremental adjustments to the payroll, as the resources are raised. So it's not an issue of we are waiting for people to strike. We are not responsive to strike in that manner.
Okay.
We are responsive to the human feeling, the human connection.
Right.
To the people that are working.
Okay. So two more questions from my end before we open up the lines. We've been hearing that the Ministry of Finance is going to take over the payroll of Tubman University. When is that going to happen? And lastly, there's this rumor that Tubman University is not going to get paid until December. Could you address those before we open up the lines?
The rumor that Tubman University not getting paid until December is false. It's misleading. It's one of the worst rumors, since 1847. I really don't get credence in here.
Okay.
Tubman University has been taking pay. Tubman University will take pay. As a matter of fact, when I got in about this rumor, I contacted the office of the Comptroller Accounting General, and he informed me that people will get paid in the course of this week. As a matter of fact, the government pays 103 entities representing 67 to 69,000 workers. And the fact that the government is running a cash-based budget, meaning you generate revenue before you pay. Sometimes there can be some delay because cash isn't in the account. But that issue has been resolved. Okay. I mean, the government I'm just trying to explain it so people can understand. And like you yourself, you have your small little shop in Harper, but you have people working with you. When you make sales, before you be able to pay the store bill.
Okay.
So in a particular, one day after my sale, the delay is small. So I think I was happy.
So that's only let's pay, right?
Pay,
as we call it in Liberian English, pay.
Exactly, because one of the program we have with international partners, we're not supposed to borrow money from the central bank. So if we can borrow money, it means the revenue can't be paid, and that's what the government been doing over the past 4 years.
So people should expect a light this week.
Yes, people should expect a light this week. After this